What comes to your mind when you hear the name Porsche? High-performance sports cars, luxurious sedans, and SUVs. Basically, one of the very best brands in the luxury car industry, right? But what if you were told that its renowned founder, Ferdinand Porsche, wasn't even a formally trained engineer, and that one of his best-selling cars was just a copy of a competitor's car funded by none other than Adolf Hitler? Hard to believe, right? And did you know that Ferdinand was a chauffeur to the very prince whose murder led to the outbreak of World War I, and that Porsche was arrested as a war criminal? The story just got even harder to believe. So let's start from the very beginning and learn how Ferdinand Porsche ended up in such a miserable situation. In 1875, in a place called Maffersdorf, in that time's Austria-Hungary and today's Czech Republic, Ferdinand Porsche was born. His family was unaware of the fact that this little boy was going to take their family's name to the globe one day, and that he would also play a huge part in World War II. After the death of his elder brother, Ferdinand was expected to join his father's business. While there was a little confusion about his father's profession, if he was a plumber or a motor mechanic, Ferdinand's story has very little to do with it, as he wasn't very interested in any of those. From a very young age, Ferdinand had a huge interest and aptitude in technology, especially electricity.
One system built on another. Electricity.
At the age of 13, he installed electric doorbells at his parents' house and added electric lighting when he was just 16, making his home the first in Maffersdorf to have electricity. He had even set up a secret workshop for his experiments at the house. However, since his father was not impressed by his son's skills, Ferdinand did an apprenticeship in the business of his father while attending classes at the Imperial Polytechnical College in Reichenberg. When he turned 18 in 1893, Ferdinand got a job through a referral at Bella Egger & Co. Electrical Company in Vienna. This job and shift in his life came as a relief to him, as he would no longer have to deal with his father calling his interests nonsense. He also enrolled as a student at what is now called the Vienna University of Technology. Knowing the kind of machinery that Ferdinand created in his lifetime, it is surprising to know that other than attending classes at Vienna University, Porsche did not complete any formal engineering education. But as they say, sometimes experience matters more than education, and Ferdinand had loads of it through experimenting in his little secret home workshop.
Now, secret work can be very risky.
Eventually, his talent and dedication got him promoted to the position of test center manager within a few years of his joining. 4 years later, in 1897, based on a concept developed by an American inventor, Ferdinand built the company's first electric wheel hub motor. In the same year, he joined Jacob Lohner and Company in the newly established electric car department. Their first design, the Egger-Lohner vehicle, had P1 engraved on all key components, P standing for Porsche and 1 symbolizing his first design. The design astonished the automobile world at the Paris Salon in 1900, being a vehicle that could be propelled by all 4 wheels and became the world's first all-wheel drive car.
All-wheel drive, 2,000 cc's, it's an EcoBoost engine, it's great on gas.
Although its super heavy 1,800 kilogram lithium acid batteries were a drawback to its racing capacity, the car did wonders on the racetrack. In 1901, Porsche launched the Lohner Porsche Mixte Hybrid, which is the first petroleum electric hybrid vehicle on record. In 1902, Ferdinand was called for military service and served as a staff driver for the top-ranking officers of the Austro-Hungarian army. He also worked as a chauffeur to Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, the crown prince whose assassination would later lead to the start of World War I. In 1905, Porsche was awarded the Potting Prize as Austria's most outstanding automotive engineer.
Outstanding work!
After 8 years at his employer Lohner, Ferdinand switched to Austro-Daimler as their chief designer in 1906. Porsche's best-known Austro-Daimler car became the one that got nicknamed after Prince Henry and won the Prinz Heinrich race, a popular race at that time. But also, his personal life developed at that time. He got married to Aloysia Johanna Caius, a bookkeeper he was dating since his days at Egger. The couple was blessed with 2 children, Louise and Ferdinand Anton Ernst, today mostly referred to as Ferry. Needless to say, Ferdinand earned a handsome salary. It allowed him and his family to enjoy a summer home in Austria's Rosalie Mountains, where he drove a car he had built. Even his son Ferry used to drive his own miniature vehicle by the age of 10.
A miniature world.
It wouldn't be wrong to say that Ferry inherited the trait of excellence from his father, and what he would do at a later point in time during a severe crisis for the Porsche family is something that every father can only dream of. The trajectory of Ferdinand's career was heavily impacted by the sudden outbreak of World War I. To adapt and contribute to the war, Porsche shifted to designing aircraft engines. He also created several heavy artillery vehicles used by the German military to invade Belgium. As a reward, he was promoted to managing director of Austro-Daimler in 1916 and awarded several government accolades. But his life came full circle when he was awarded an honorary doctorate in engineering by Vienna University in 1917. Yes, the same university where he studied as a part-time student. In 1923, Porsche left Austro-Daimler due to some differences and later joined Daimler Motoren Gesellschaft (DMG) as a technical director in Germany. At DMG, he designed the Mercedes-Benz Roadsters, the SS and SSK, both supercharged racing cars with roaring engines. Ferdinand was working on all these amazing inventions applied to racing cars, etc., but there was something lingering on his bucket list that was still missing.
Hang on, something's missing.
It was his wish to develop a small, feasible, affordable, lightweight car which was suitable for everyday use, which he had envisioned during his time at DMG. But it stayed an idea he couldn't get his company on board with. He resigned and returned to Austria. In 1931, he came back to Germany with his son Ferry and Karl Rabe and founded his own firm. It offered designs and consulting services for motors and vehicles. He hired many of his former co-workers as well, and their first project was the design of a middle-class car for Wanderer. The next year, Porsche designed a 16-cylinder compressor Grand Prix racing car named Auto Union P-Car that won 32 races out of 64, with drivers such as Hans Stuck and Bernd Rosemeyer setting many world records in it. Porsche's business was growing, and now it was time for him to work on his dream car idea, which sat burning on the bucket list since his time at DMG. It was a risk, but he was able to finance the project by taking a loan on his life insurance. He also tried to reach out to a couple of sponsors like Zundap and NSU, but their commitment eventually fell out due to costly tooling expenses or lack of interest. This news somehow seemed to have reached the Soviet Union, and in 1932, this transcontinental country offered Porsche a position as chief construction director, with unlimited development funds to build a small car along with amazing additional benefits.
Unlimited credit. That's what it means.
Now, be reminded that during World War I, Austria and Germany fought against the Soviet Union. And if this was not enough to turn down the offer, the fact that the European Grand Prix circuit did not extend to communist Russia did not fit well for the racing enthusiast Porsche. It was a tough time for Porsche as he could not find sponsors for his dream project. But then, one day, out of nowhere, a ray of hope appeared. At the 1933 Berlin Motor Show, German Chancellor Adolf Hitler expressed his intention to motorize the nation, with every German owning either a car or a tractor in the future. He announced a project called the People's Car, or Volkswagen. Yes, precisely what Porsche had envisioned.
This is my vision, yes.
What may have seemed impossible a couple of months ago turned into a reality when in 1934, Porsche was given a contract from Hitler to design the People's Car, and as a result, the company Volkswagen was born. In the same year, allegedly under Hitler's influence, Ferdinand became a German citizen. By 1935, the first two Volkswagen prototypes were completed. Although it may seem that the universe was finally aligning to fulfill Ferdinand's dreams, a lawsuit from the Czech vehicle manufacturer Tatra came as a setback for Porsche's ambitions. Tatra claimed that Porsche's designs and prototype of the Volkswagen was a copy of their Tatra V570 and Tatra 97 models. As a consequence, Tatra sued Porsche for infringement of their patents related to their air cooling of the rear engine. But the legal battle was interrupted when the Germans invaded Czechoslovakia. Eventually, several years after World War II, Volkswagen paid Tatra a settlement out of court. Very little is known about whether Porsche actually copied the design or what exactly happened between the two companies. With the lawsuit being interrupted, things slowly restarted for Volkswagen, and in 1938, the founding stone of the Volkswagen plant was laid, a new city called Stadt des KDF-Wagens. Today, known as Wolfsburg, was founded for the Volkswagen factory, and Ferdinand Porsche got appointed as one of the general managers of Volkswagen GmbH.
Celebrating the birth of a new city.
However, shortly before production started, the Second World War broke out. In consequence, the vast Wolfsburg complex was converted over to the production of military vehicles. During these years, Porsche served as head of the German Tank Commission, for which he designed massive artillery vehicles. Within these war times, he also developed the Ostrad tractor and Maus, the heaviest fully enclosed armored fighting vehicle ever built. Porsche also made heavy tank designs known as Tiger, P, and Ferdinand, later named Elephant. Since the Piaget Auto Works had been seized by the German occupation forces in 1940, he also traveled regularly to France to oversee their production. Ferdinand never fell short of praise for his work, and during the war he received numerous honors from the German regime, including the honorary title of professor in 1940.
Thank you. I am indeed honored.
After the war ended, mass production of the people's car, which would later be known as the Volkswagen Beetle, resumed. As Porsche became more involved with the construction of the Wolfsburg factory, his son Ferry was handed over his racing projects. In 1944, with World War II still in progress, the German city of Stuttgart was being heavily bombed by Allied planes. Porsche and his family returned to their summer home in Austria. At the war's end, Austria was subdivided into 4 parts, each occupied by a different country, and Ferdinand was placed under house arrest. French military authorities then invited him back to Germany to discuss the possibility of manufacturing a Volkswagen-type car for France. What happened next was something that Porsche would never have imagined. The meeting with the French turned out to be a trap, and Porsche, along with Anton Piech and son Ferry, were arrested as war criminals. Ferdinand was already a 71-year-old man at the time. Within a couple of hours, the man, later to be known as Car Engineer of the Century, was reduced to just another prisoner, serving his sentence behind the rusted bars of the jail. Ferry Porsche was freed after 6 months. Realizing that to bail out his father and Anton from jail, Ferry needed to come up with 1 million francs. So he focused on the business he had learned from his father and built the Cisitalia racing car, which helped in raising the required money. Finally, after 22 months of imprisonment, Ferdinand Porsche was freed. A year later, the French War Crimes Tribunal found Ferdinand not guilty, but the ransom money was never refunded. Upon returning, Ferdinand got to examine his son's design of the Cisitalia car, and what he said next was a moment of pride for both of them. He told Ferry, "I would have built it exactly the same way, right down to the last screw." The company then started to work on the Porsche Type 356, the first car to carry the Porsche name. Not sure how to fuel the business again, Ferry Porsche took one of the limited series 356 models and visited Volkswagen dealers to raise some orders. He asked the dealers to pay for the ordered cars in advance.
Payment in advance.
Ferry Porsche had estimated a production figure of about 1,500 at that time, but to everybody's surprise, more than 78,000 Porsche 356s were manufactured in the following 17 years. In November 1950, Porsche visited the Wolfsburg Volkswagen factory for the first time since the end of World War II. It must have been a very emotional visit for him. Porsche met with Volkswagen's president Heinrich Nordhoff to discuss the future of VW Beetles, which were already being produced in large numbers. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, Ferdinand Porsche suffered a stroke that he could not fully recover from. He passed away on the 30th of January, 1951. It was a dark day in the history of the automobile industry. In 1999, Ferdinand Porsche posthumously won the award of Car Engineer of the Century, and his name got engraved in history forever.
Look in the history books.
After Ferdinand's death, his legacy continued, and Porsche created a series of outstanding high-performance sports cars, including the world-famous 911 and the Boxster. The Wolfsburg Auto Works, also known as Volkswagen's world headquarters, is still operational, and the Beetle became the most successful and ubiquitous car in history. Do you think that Ferdinand Porsche was a great inventor despite his role in World War I and World War II? Would you like to learn more about the company's history after the death of its founder? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video entertaining or learned something new, please leave a like and tell us what you'd like to see next. Also, don't forget to subscribe subscribe and ring the bell on your way out so you won't miss out on our next inspiring video. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.